Alec Baldwin might be facing criminal charges of homicide, and we're going to break it down. To give you a little background, I'm Colton Richardson. I used to be assistant district attorney, and now I do personal injury law. And so I have some experience with prosecuting crimes and even do a little bit of criminal defense now. But that's what I want to share with you. And so if you're not caught up, Alec Baldwin was on the set of Rust when he says the gun went off that he was using as a prop and shot Halyna Hutchins, and she passed. And so now there's civil trials, and now there might be criminal charges facing Alec Baldwin and four other suspects. So there's a report that came out the other day. The district attorney asked for some money to help prosecute this crime, or these four people possibly. They haven't came out outright and said that they're actually charging these people yet, but they're saying that there could potentially be four people who they see as suspects right now that could face some type of homicide charges coming soon. And so they requested more money for this because of how high profile it is and how complex it is. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at a report that CBS News has on it right here. Up to four people, including Alec Baldwin, might end up facing charges in Rust shooting, district attorney says in request for more money to investigate. And so the district attorney's offices get a certain amount of money, and for high-profile cases, they might need more money. And so when I was at the prosecutor's office, we had to request additional funding. Say if we had an out-of-state witness and we needed them to get down to, I'm in Oklahoma, so come down to Oklahoma from wherever they're at. So you have to request additional funding on quite a few cases if they're pretty high profile. In that case that I was working on, I was working on one where a lady faked cancer and got a whole bunch of money, including from a GoFundMe. And I had out-of-state witnesses, and I requested from the district attorney of Tulsa for some funding to get those witnesses down to Tulsa, and we did. We prosecuted her for faking cancer, embezzling money. So, but district attorney's offices do have to request for additional funds when they face a high-profile case that will have additional expenses more than your usual larceny of an auto or something like that. Let's get rid of this. So the district attorney in New Mexico said she could be close to charging up to four people, including actor Alec Baldwin, in the Rust film set shooting that occurred in Santa Fe on October 21st, 2021. Baldwin's prop gun was discharged again. He's maintaining that he did not pull the trigger. He said that in a live interview. I don't remember what news station it was, but he said that in a live interview. And actually, the FBI did forensic report and came out and concluded that there's no way that it went off, that the gun went off by itself, meaning Alec Baldwin had to have pulled the trigger. That is, again, why you don't do interviews, especially on news stations, live interviews, while you might have criminal charges pending or coming for you. So that was not the wisest move on Baldwin, because they can definitely use that in a trial against him. And so we'll see what happens there. So they made an emergency funding request for $635,500 to continue to fund the investigation of the high-profile case. And they also say that we are within weeks, if not days, of receiving the final report from the sheriff's office. It's become apparent that we will be potentially charging between 1 and 4 people with criminal charges, and each of those charges will probably include some variation of our homicide statute. So they say that this could potentially require up to 4 separate jury trials, which again, that's more prosecutors, that's more fees for witness to come and testify, including their mileage. So it could be a hefty expense, not necessarily $635,000 just for witnesses to come testify, but they requested it for some other reasons as well. And so the money to hire more people to work on the case. So that's one of their reasonings for requesting more money. These cases look to be too big for just my office to handle. but they also need to focus on other cases as well. So it's just not only their case. It's not their only case. We need an almost full-time attorney and someone who's very experienced on complex cases and very experienced with litigation. So they probably want one attorney. If there are 4 cases, um, 4 separate jury trials that are needed, they'd likely want the same attorney on all of those cases, because then you don't have to remake the wheel. This guy or girl attorney knows all the facts, knows all the evidence, and it'd be a lot less work for one person to do it than to spread it out over 4 different lawyers. The funds could also go to a new attorney support staff like paralegals, as well as experts who can aid in the investigation, like a firearm expert, an armor who has worked on movies before, and potentially a movie set safety expert. So experts are important in trials, especially one like this, where Alec Baldwin is saying he didn't pull the trigger. Who knows what really happened? Who put the live ammunition in the gun? There should have been dummies. Why was there a fire pin in there? And so that's why they're looking at 4 different jury trials and 4 different suspects, because they're still trying to figure out exactly what went wrong and when it went wrong and who was responsible for that. So right now they're seeing it as 4 people might have responsibility. They're still trying to work out the kinks in who they're actually going to charge and what they're going to charge them with, although they might charge all 4 of them. So we'll just have to see on that. She also requested a public information officer because her office was overwhelmed with the media attention over this case. So that's interesting. So they're wanting someone who can handle all the media, just with regards to this one case, because it is a high profile case. It was an actress who was the victim, and it's Alec Baldwin, who is a actor, and so it is a pretty high profile case. So that's interesting that they requested more money for that as well. But I don't see why not. The report coming in October means we will be under the gun, no pun intended, to get moving on these cases and to get these cases charged if that is what the facts warrant. It's merely that we need it starting in October to start retaining people. The Board of Finance approved $317,750 for her emergency request funding. So that's about half of the funds that she requested. I don't know how she broke it down exactly, like $100,000 for a lawyer, $100,000 for experts. I don't know how exactly she broke it down, but that seems like quite a bit of money to prosecute this. Last month, New Mexico's Office of the Medical Investigator finished an autopsy and review of law enforcement reports and determined the shooting was an accident. So that will definitely be some important witnesses if this was to go to a jury trial, because a few of the homicide statutes require intent, and you can't have intent when it was an accident. No one intended for her to die. Now, there are manslaughter charges, which are reckless. And so those could be what they charged these 4 suspects with. But that's an important piece of the evidence to consider in what to charge these 4 suspects with. The FBI also completed its forensic investigation last month, and the case was handed over to Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office. At the time, his office was also waiting for a report from Suffolk County Police Department in New York, which was working to obtain Baldwin's phone records. So phone records are always important because sometimes they have a lot of information on them. So that's probably why they're waiting on that. To date, my office has received portions of the Rust investigation from SFSO, but it's still awaiting the balance of supplemental reports, including but not limited to the following: FBI firearm and tool mark analyses, forensic testing on the firearm itself, the forensic download from Suffolk County PD of Mr. Baldwin's phone, and the pathology report from the New Mexico Office of the Medical Investigator. Once they receive the report, she and her team will make the charging decision. So they want to make sure they get all the information before making a decision on who to charge and what to charge them with. Like I said, one of the reports already came out and said it was an accident. It'll be very difficult to charge the suspects with a intentional crime such as first-degree murder when this would be an accident. The more appropriate charge, if any, would be manslaughter, seems like, but that's why they want to get all the information before making a decision on who to charge and what to charge them with. However, just the amount of money that they requested to investigate this and prosecute it says that they're likely gonna bring charges, just don't know against who yet and what they're gonna charge them with. So very interesting. I think that the fact that they asked for over $600,000 to investigate and prosecute this says a lot about what their future intentions are. Body cam footage really another interesting thing in this CBS News is the body cam footage released in April by the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office shows Baldwin holding the gun before the incident and Hutchins and Souza on the ground surrounded by first responders after they were shot. The video also shows Baldwin telling two officers they did not pull the trigger. He is seen telling the officers he didn't know who put a live round in the weapon. Again, I don't know why they even had live rounds on the set. And that's another person that they're thinking about suing. Not suing. That's another person that they're thinking about bringing charges against. As we can see right here. In addition to the criminal investigation, there are several other lawsuits over the shooting. Hutchins' family is suing Baldwin and the movie's producers for the wrongful death. The armorer on the film, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, has sued the ammunition and gun supplier for the movie, accusing him and his company of providing a combination of dummy and live rounds. And so Hannah Reed might be another suspect that they might look at bringing criminal charges against. Hannah Reed might be another suspect that they are considering bringing criminal charges against, but just because she was the armor that was on the set and she was responsible for what rounds were in the gun, probably handling of the gun. And so the real question is that I guess they are trying to figure out is why was there live ammunition in the gun? It doesn't really make sense to have live ammunition, even on the set of Rust while they're shooting a video, shooting a movie, because there's a possibility that they get mixed up with the dummy rounds and something like this happens. And so they're really looking at a few different people to prosecute, and they're really waiting to get all the information before they decide on who to bring charges against and what to charge. But I think it's pretty telling that the district attorney's office requested over $600,000 in funding for this reason, just for this situation, these possible four suspects that they might bring charges against. I think it's telling that there are at least going to be some criminal charges brought. Whether now the questions of who they're going to bring charges against and what kind of charges they're going to bring is up in the air, and I think that's why they're waiting to get all the information till they decide that. So we'll definitely keep a close eye on this and keep you updated as to what's going on. If you have any questions or comments on Alec Baldwin or who else should be charged or investigated, put them in the comments below, and maybe I can do a video on them.